Good morning from the Happy Heretic. I did a harvest of the big ANC and red wiggler bins. The ANCs I was just harvesting for adult worms to start a new bin. For the red wigglers I did a big harvest for castings and adult worms so that I'm kind of migrating things inside. Even though it's very, very hot outside here in Georgia, it's only July, and it's going to stay hot for a while. I have so many. How you guys doing this morning? And what I did is I fine sifted some castings out, and this is what was left over. And what's so funny to me is this is as rich and really even better for your soil than all that fine casting, because this also improves your soil structure and it retains water far, far better than the fine castings. But I know that's a favorite of everybody, so I actually did it. I'm going to experiment with it a little bit, but no. And so I put the worms in here to break down just a little bit, and also because I'm going to use a little bit of this to set up a brand new working bin. I want this to kind of buffer the new bin and make the transition easier for them. And what I did is I put in some watermelon. It wasn't frozen, it was fresh. And I didn't shred it, I just cut it up a little bit. But as you can see, they are certainly finding it. And it will break down fairly quickly. I'm not worried about that part. But the worms, don't tell me, they love corrugated cardboard. Love it. And I kind of feel bad because this is separated. They like going between. If you don't separate it, it's just easier on my hands, honestly. I wet my cardboard a little bit first, and then I shred it. Let's see. Where is the biggest concentration today? Mostly probably over there by that watermelon. I also noticed, and I'm so tired of talking about that stupid flood, but I noticed that there are some ANCs in here. So I guess what I'm going to have to do is wait for them to get bigger, and as I see them, I will move them over into the ANC bed. I keep uncovering it and then covering it back up. But they're happy and healthy. Red wiggler or ANC, either one. Well, they're not so happy when I do this. That sunlight coming through the window is actually making it a little bit harder to see. It's casting shadows because of the bin. Okay. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing. The food is in there because this is castings mostly, except for the cardboard on top, which they love. I put the watermelon in there because there are so many worms. I don't want them going hungry. And the cardboard, try to put it face down. They love it. Keeps the moisture in, because like I said, this is a harvest. This is a casting harvest. And so I don't want this drying out. Even if there were not worms in it, I would not let it dry out. So, and then I couldn't find any bubble wrap. That's sufficing for now. This bin, I think, oh, that was red wigglers. Yeah, that's right. And there's a few ANCs in there. And here, in theory, are not nearly as many because I haven't harvested that bin. I just pulled a few out. I am really not happy with the mixture of worms that happened, because what happened is we were saving them. They just went back wherever they could. Material got mixed up, cocoons for sure, and babies. It's very hard to identify a baby about which type it is when you have both ANCs and red wigglers, and that's African night crawlers. But this is uncomposted stuff. Bin 1 was when I sifted the castings, I shouldn't say the castings. When I sifted the vermicast, I took some of the larger pieces, and that's what bin 1 was over here. This is all mostly unprocessed. So I'm letting the ANCs work through that and break it down a little bit. And the ANCs have to come in. I'm going to keep a big breeding bin of red wigglers outside and probably one or both of the 55-gallon because they do so well in there. And I can compost anything out there. I don't have to worry about bugs. The worms are protected because there's so much material that it's a buffer. But all of my ANCs have to come inside because it freezes here in Georgia and it just gets too cold. And even though some of them may survive in the cocoons, most certainly, it's almost certain the cocoons would survive. But I don't want to lose my entire population, and I also want them active all winter. So the African night crawlers get to come in the house, and a lot of the red wigglers too, just not all of them. I love the idea. Keeping the breeding bins going outside has been awesome. And then this is completely unbroken down. It's a brand new bin, and it's all that's in here, if I can even get a picture, is teeny tiny red wiggler wisps. There may be an adult or two in here, but for the most part, there they are. There's an adult. And new cocoons. Where are my babies? A lot of times I find them at the very bottom. But they also clump together. So this bin, this is a long-term bin. They're all so tiny. It's going to be forever before they really do anything. And that's okay. Oh, I've got one baby up here. I usually keep a light on. Yes, I know they don't like light. I keep the light on so that they stay safe and under cover. There's some castings. Oh, there they are. There's some adults in there, but there's also a ton of teeny tiny juveniles, wisps, any number of things. But yeah, I'm not really concerned about the production of this bin. I just want these were rescued babies, and I just want them to have a nice moist environment. And what I do, I don't like to add a lot of water in there, so I just mist. That's it. Nothing major. I'm not trying to drown them. And I'm covering, since this is all done this week and it's not been a great week, obviously, I just try to keep them covered with whatever while they get used to it. In here, looks like bin number 4. More ANCs, I think. I need to label these. Yeah, there we go. They have found the watermelon. And again, I didn't shred it, cut it up, freeze it. I had fresh watermelon. I gave them fresh watermelon. And look at those fat, happy little worms. So I'm going to keep that well covered since this bin is inside. I'm a lot more careful with stuff inside. I'm not interested in having a big pest problem outside, anything but roaches. Somebody laughed at me about that, and I'm like, you know what? We all have our limits. And outside, all the little helpful composters are great. I have centipedes, I have potworms, I have every once in a while black soldier fly larvae, any number of things outside, and they're all good. But that's one of the reasons. I will admit that when I'm using vermicast inside, the fine sift. I need to check and make sure. I think I used, maybe 1/8 of an inch, because it got out the baby worms. It screened for almost no wisps escaped, no larvae of other types escaped. And so that was fantastic. And this is a pretty wet bin. And even so, they all head straight for the wettest parts. Your worms should glisten, but if you'll look, there's no standing water. There's no drainage in here. These bins are very easy for me to manage. I can check them every day, all the way to the bottom. There's no standing water. But if you look at a worm, they glisten with moisture, and that's perfect. So they should break this stuff down pretty quickly. I put in a little azomite because I had it. I would not have bought it. I need to add a little bit more eggshell to the bins, but probably not much, because there's so much grit in the soil that I use. Sometimes I'll put in a little black cow, which is composted cow manure, because it seems to have a really nice grit to it, and it improves my final product. So even though the worms may not need it as much, they distribute it so perfectly that when I go to use my vermicompost, it is perfect potting soil. So, and again, I don't usually fine sift unless it's for a house plant. I want, not this chunky, this is not processed, but like I showed you on the first one, that's perfect for soil structure. These little guys are amazing. So that's it from me today. Those are the bins, ANCs and red wigglers in various stages. They've all been fed in the top right-hand corner with fresh, unfrozen, non-blended watermelon, and everybody seems happy. So I'm gonna check back in probably next week. Well, no, I'll check in a few days and see how that watermelon's doing. That's not covered up as much as I want it to be. I will check back in, see how the watermelon is doing, and we can make a decision on whether or not inside it should have been blended, because it would have broken down faster and been processed faster if it had been blended. I don't mind that as long as it doesn't draw any unnecessary and unwanted pest. So we'll check in maybe by Saturday or Sunday. This is Christina, the Happy Heretic. Like it if you like it, and subscribe if you want to see what crazy thing I'm up to on any given day.